Okay, hello everybody and welcome back to Halftime Oranges. Today we're doing our Premier League table predictions. Now each of us have inputted our predictions, so we're going to go through them right now. So, hello Stefan.
Hello.
Hello Clive.
All right, Arran, how's things? All good?
All good, thank you very much. Looking forward to the start of the new season.
Yeah,
Stefan.
2 days away now.
Yeah, not far away at all. Stefan, you've gone with Southampton, Watford and Norwich for the drop. Why is that?
Yeah, I think Norwich will finish bottom. I think they've got a Buendia-shaped hole in the team, and he won't be replaced. I think it's just not what Norwich do. I don't see them staying up. I don't think they've got the quality. I think they play good football, but ultimately they don't have the quality in the team. Rumours of Cantwell leaving as well won't help. So I think Norwich will be rooted and could be on the end of some serious spankings from some of the top teams throughout the season. Watford, to some extent, are a bit of an unknown quantity because a lot of the players they brought in, we won't know a lot about. They did have a good defence last year. They have got a mixture of experience, and they've still got Zaha there. So they might be quite resolute, but I think ultimately they won't have enough quality again to stay in the league. And for me, I think this is Southampton's last year in the Premier League, and that is basically due to the amount of goals that they've shipped last season. And I've always think when you're down there, if you've got a goal scorer, you've got a chance. And I think that's why teams like Newcastle and Burnley have avoided the drop in recent years, and teams like Brighton, say, get sucked into it. But losing Danny Ings is a massive, massive loss to lose all of them goals. And I don't think the replacements they brought in will be able to do it. They've got hope with the set pieces from James Ward-Prowse. But over the course of the season, losing all those goals and with the defensive record they've got, and they've got massive problems with injuries, and they seem to have that every year for some reason. I think those are my three to go down.
All right. Now, Clive, you've agreed with Stefan on two of those accounts, Norwich and Southampton, but you picked Burnley to finish in 20th place.
I think, similar to what Stefan said about Southampton, I think Burnley are kind of struggling really for quality, especially in depth. I mean, they've got Chris Wood, who got 12 goals to them last season. But then after that, it's quite a drop in terms of quality. If McNeil doesn't turn up for Burnley, they're struggling with the likes of Vidra and Rodriguez and Barnes up front. I mean, you got Matty Vidra, who's partnered up front with Wood a lot last season, only getting the 3 goals. Rodriguez was tuning in just with the single effort last season. Brownhill's been talked up a lot by a lot of Burnley fans this season. They've been linked with that Arthur Gomez as well from Santos. But I mean, with Long being out for them as well, it looks like Tarkowski is unlikely to stay with Burnley, I think, beyond the transfer window. It leaves them short at the back. It leaves them really lacking quality up front. And I just can't see Sean Dyche, continuing the miracle. And also Nick Pope also struggling to be fit as well for the start of the season. And you look at Southampton as well. I mean, they've lost 20-odd goals innings. They've gambled. They've gambled with Armstrong, who really, he's only kicked on in the last 2 seasons at Blackburn. You look at his stats, he did all right at Coventry about 5 years ago, albeit in League One. 28 goals last season with Blackburn, which is brilliant. 16 the season before, but before that, he wasn't getting into double figures in the Championship. He was at Barnsley, he was at Bolton on loan, 6 and 9 with Barnsley. 6 and 1 with Barnsley and Bolton. I mean, 2 seasons in the Championship, £15 million. If it comes off, it's an absolute bargain for Southampton. But if Adams or Armstrong get injured, they've got problems. Bojan's also been brought in from Chelsea, totally unknown, similar to Livermore at the back, who's probably going to be covered for Kyle Walker-Peters. They do have other players that can turn it on sometimes, Southampton. They've got Gineppo, but he's very injury prone. They've also got Stuart Armstrong as well, who did okay in his 3 seasons from Celtic, chipping in with 4 or 5 goals each season, few assists. Again, there's a lack of creativity in that Southampton side. And I think, Norwich haven't really strengthened. If anything, they're a worse team than the last time they're in the Premier League. So those are the three from me.
All right, yeah. So I've gone with Watford. And one of the reasons is their recruitment policy. They've brought in around, like we talked about in the last podcast, 10 unknown players. And they were absolutely relying on Sarr to get them goals, to keep them in the Premier League. And I just don't see it happening. I see with that recruitment policy of signing unknowns and relying on Sarr, I don't think it's going to happen for them. Norwich, with the loss of Wendia, like we've already talked about, I think they're weaker than last year. I think the Norwich team of last year would beat this team. And I don't think this team is strong enough now to stay in the Premier League. Burnley, it's based on recruitment. Like we've mentioned already in previous podcasts, that I think they brought in one senior player. And last season, I believe they lost their last 7 of 9 games in the Premier League. So yeah, I think with a board now that Dyche doesn't seem to get along with, I think this could be the last time we see Burnley in the Premier League for a while, and maybe the last time we see Dyche as the manager as well.
Yeah.
All right.
I think he might be moving on quite soon.
Yeah, let's move on. Avoiding the drop. Clive, you've gone with Brentford, Watford, Brighton and Newcastle in that order?
Yeah, I think Brentford with Tony, he just scores goals for fun in Championship. And I think Mbeumo, Janssen also in midfield, they look like they might have been the creative force for Brentford. They've signed Ayer from Celtic. They've got Pontus Janssen, very experienced defender. They've got a very astute manager as well. I think Brentford have just got enough with the transition that Southampton are going over to with the new strikers and everything. They've got a proven striker in Ivan Toney, and I think his goals may well save them this season. You'd like to think Watford, with their defensive strength, they might have enough to stay up next season. They've got absolutely tons of players. Sad to see Pedro leaving them. He got 9 goals in the Championship last season. Josh King, who we know what he's capable of, obviously we all know what Troy Deeney's capable of. If Josh King can rediscover his Bournemouth form, Watford should be all right. And I think Brighton have also got enough. They could do with a striker, as we know, but I just don't think they're the worst 3 teams in there. Willock signing for Newcastle is an absolute inspirational signing for me. And I think if Willock, Wilson, St Maximin all stay fit, they should be all right this season. Newcastle, there's 3 worst teams in there. If they lost 2 out of those 3 players, they might get sucked into it. So time will tell on that. But for now, I think Newcastle should be fine. And
Stefan, you've also gone with Brentford to avoid the drop.
Yeah, I think Brentford are going to be a team that all the neutrals resonate towards. Are going to be the sort of darlings of the Premier League, and the manager's a real character as well. I can really see them. I can see a pitch invasion last day. Everyone on the manager's shoulders. I think they're really set up to go and attack teams, and I can see them not playing for draws. And I think that ultimately might keep them up, particularly their home form. Burnley, you both put them to go down. I still think you can't, even with the lack of quality, even with, I think last summer they only signed Dale Stevens, which says it all really. I think you can't write off Sean Dyche. And I think when it comes down to it, if they need 3 wins from 5 or something, he's the sort of man that can get that at Turf Moor. Crystal Palace, I've gone with him 15th there. This, as I say, this could go either way. And as a Brighton fan, let's hope it goes the wrong way. They've really, really changed things at the back. So they've gone from 2 old centre-backs to 2 really young, promising centre-backs. And then Vieira is relatively untested. It's sort of checkerboard history. So it did fairly well in the first season at Nice. I don't really think you can count experience in the MLS as experience that translates, if you like, or we can read anything from in the Premier League. It might just be a case of Palace fans changing things for the sake of it and getting rid of Hodgson, and it could go wrong. And I'm thinking pessimistically, and I'm putting them 15th. And Brighton, this is a season really frustratingly where Brighton could have really kicked on. At the moment, it doesn't look like they will. But fortunately, I think the league is quite weak this year, and the teams that I put below Brighton, I don't think will trouble us. So, as I say, broken record, get a striker, top 10, don't finish 14th, 15th, lots of draws at home.
More draws.
Yeah.
All right, so I've gone with Southampton. They have signed a new left back to replace Ryan Bertrand, Perro, who's actually ranked really well. People really think it's a good player. And they've also just signed that Adam Armstrong from Blackburn. I think that it could be make or break for Hassan Thaler now. He was under pressure last year, but he did really well. However, the back end of the season didn't go so well. But I feel like
Ings was also injured. Ings was also injured for a large period of that. So that gives you a good indication as to how much they may well struggle.
Well, let's find out, because maybe they can get the best out of this Armstrong. So I do believe the teams under Southampton that I've put to get relegated are worse. That's why Southampton will avoid the drop. Crystal Palace, I think they've actually recruited quite well. That Elise from Reading, and they brought in a couple of defenders, like Stefan said. You should see him through, but question marks, like Stefan said, over Vieira. I just don't think he's a very good manager. I don't know how he's got that job. I think that he shouldn't. I think that it could be one for the sack race. I don't know if he'll get it. I don't know if he'll be the first to get the papers through, but I think he's going to be in there. I don't rate him at all. And that's why I think they're going to drop to 16th from 14th this season. Brentford, yeah, I feel like they play 5 at the back. And if you go back to teams like Sheffield United 2 years ago that started with 5 at the back, it does well in the Premier League. And I feel like with Tony up front, I feel like they've got a real chance to do something this year. Brighton, they've kept pretty much the nucleus of the same squad, obviously apart from losing Ben White to Arsenal. And they've got Sanchez in goal from the start this season. So defensively, they're still going to be very good. And hopefully they can get Lamptey back quick, because they're going to need him to attack. So yeah, that's why I put Brighton to finish 14th. All right, moving on up the table.
Just a point on Vieira, though, Arran. I think he'll do all right at Palace this season. I mean, they're not going to get relegated with him, and I think that's the key for Crystal Palace. There, you look at his record at Nice: in 28 games, he won 11, drawn 8, and I think that was the season before last. And I think if
would you say that Nice are more equipped in the French league than Crystal Palace are in the Premier League, though? They're a bigger club though in the French league.
You look at his average points before he left Nice were just slightly higher than what it was when he was there. I mean, 1.46 2 seasons ago, 1.55. If Palace are knocking out points like that, I mean, I think any Crystal Palace fan is going to be happy with finishing.
It did lose 5 on the bounce. It did lose 5 on the bounce. That's why he got the
but I mean,
sack.
I think though, yeah, that's why he did get the sack. Before that, they were doing better in League One than they were in the previous season. I mean, a Europa League campaign might have also hindered Vieira's ability to get the best out of probably what was a very weak sort of squad in depth at Nice. I mean, what I really like about Crystal Palace is the way they've strengthened the defence. I think you're going to see Mitchell kick on this season. I think you're going to see a very, very good partnership developing with Gueye, who they bought from Chelsea, and Anderson. He's strengthening in the right areas, and it's just a case a little bit similar to Southampton in a way. Up front, just a little bit weak with just Benteke. Ayew's not going to see much, so it depends what kind of tune he gets out of Louis Saha.
Well, another question mark over Vieira is the formation that he prefers. Because that's what they were saying at Nice, that he was chopping and changing all the time, and he could just not set on one formation, and he couldn't find his best 11 either. I think with a team like Crystal Palace and the squad they've got, I can see that being replicated. I really can. But anyway, moving on. Sorry, let's go back. We're up to 13th now. Clive, you've gone with Wolves.
I mean, it's an interesting season coming up for Wolves, and they may actually, do a little bit better than that. It all depends on how quickly Jimenez can get back in his groove. They've got that Trincao that they've managed to get in from Barcelona.
Yeah.
We all know what Traore is capable of in midfield from there. Neves has attracted interest from Manchester United. They've got Moutinho. Gibbs White, one to watch for Wolves this season. And, pre-season for Wolves, the new manager, Lage, he really favours the wing-backs pushing on. You've got Ait-Nouri, you've got Semedo, you've got Hoover at the back with the wing-backs there for them. And you've got the likes of Cody and Sace, at the centre-backs there. They're a strong side. They've brought in a new goalkeeper. They could actually do a little bit better than 13th. I'm just, you know, it's possibly a bit of a transition. If Jimenez doesn't quite kick on as early as Wolves fans would hope, then, you know, a mid-table finish is likely. But I mean, 13th would be where they finished last season. That middle of the table between the likes of Wolves, between the likes of Palace, Arsenal, Everton, Spurs, could finish in any particular order for me.
Yeah. Stefan, anything to add?
Yeah, I agree with Clive. I think, yeah, as you say, that mid-table bracket, that sort of mini league is quite fluid, and those sort of teams could finish anywhere. I think Newcastle have actually had a good window for once in keeping their best players and, say, getting Willock in. And I think it's important to remember that Newcastle brought in Graham Jones last year. So we might see a bit of an improvement to the backroom staff,
Huge
improving their
improvement.
tactics. Because Steve Bruce at times, he looks like a tactical dinosaur, doesn't he? So I think more of the same from Newcastle this year. Wolves, again, Jimenez coming back. What type of player is he going to be? If he is the player of 2 years ago, I think Wolves could finish higher than that. They've also got Podence, Neto coming back as well. So there is quality in that team. And Leeds, similar season, I think.
1 minute before you move on to Leeds, let me just do my 13th and 12th, because it's similar to what you guys have put. Yeah, Newcastle in 13th, only bringing in Willock, relying heavily, like Clive said, on St. Maximan and Wilson. Are they able to keep them fit? We'll see. But they finished 12th last season.
The key.
Yeah, they finished 12th last season.
That's the key with them, isn't it?
Yeah. And Wolves,
keeping those two fit.
Yeah, Wolves, again, I guess relying on Jimenez, because they just couldn't find the back of the net last season without him. They really, really struggled. But yeah, it's all about him, really. And bringing in the new manager, it might revitalise them, or he might struggle with the pace of the Premier League. So yeah, I don't know. Anyway, all right, Stefan, moving back to you then. You've put Leeds in 11th. There's going to be a lot of Leeds fans who are not fans of yours right now. Explain yourself, man.
I think it's very much a similar season to last year. Second season in the Premier League, and I think they're more of the same. He hasn't really strengthened too much because he hasn't felt the need to. But I think most Leeds fans, if they're not being too unrealistic, would be happy with another mid-table finish, wouldn't you say?
No, I wouldn't at all.
All right, they've strengthened at left back. I think that's an area where they did need a player. They need another player in midfield, and if they get that, maybe they could finish higher. All right, Clive, another biggie. Tottenham 11th. We're going to finish in the bottom half of the table, according to Clive.
It's a very much transitional season for Spurs. I mean, Martinez hasn't come in yet for Spurs. I mean, they need a replacement for Kane when he does eventually leave. Martinez from Inter Milan's been touted. How quickly does he adapt to the Premier League? Got Brian Hill from Sevilla coming in, Romario at centre back replacing Alderweireld. I mean, Spurs fans are going to be disappointed if they do finish 11th.
Just a little bit.
I just have no idea what they're gonna do in the Europa Conference League. I mean, if Nuno Espirito Santos has got any common sense whatsoever, which I'm sure he has, you're going to probably end up with a majority of youth players and maybe a couple of reserves playing in that league. I mean, why would you the winners of the Europa Conference get a place in Europa League? I mean, why would you put your players through that Thursday, Sunday? Not going to happen. What I really do feel could be, a real highlight for Spurs this season is Dele Alli. I think you might see a good resurgence of him. He's definitely a quality player, and it's similar to how Mourinho fell out with Luke Shaw. They just didn't get on, so he dropped him. And I think Ali showed towards the end with Ryan Mason what he's capable of. I mean, he links up very well with Son in pre-season. They could kick on a little bit. It all depends how they replace Kane. For me, Son's productivity without Kane is a lot less. So I think it's all very well saying like Son can play as the lone striker up front. It's not really he's not really been tested much there, to be perfectly honest. And I think they do need someone else. I would have liked them to have gone after Danny Ings themselves, but I mean, Villa got in there before they did. So I mean, a lot to happen in the transfer window yet, I think, for Spurs.
Yeah, I've gone with Everton. I think that their squad is not as good as last season. Remember the last transfer window in the summer with Ancelotti, they signed Arran, they signed Decore, and they signed James Rodriguez. And this season it's Andros Townsend. and
Damari Gray.
Damari Gray. So yeah, I don't see them progressing. I feel like Benitez is going to concentrate more on defending. I think the Everton side could be a little bit boring to watch. I think it's all going to rely. It's not going to rely on Calvert-Lewin to score goals as much as it is Damari Gray and Andros Townsend delivering balls into the box for him to score. And I think they're
going to be very, very strong at home, Everton. I really do. I think Townsend and Gray and Lucas Digne, I think they're going to be key for Benitez because he just loves a winger, doesn't he? Everton, Rafa Benitez has never strikes you as a manager that's defensive minded. He seems to like to
pragmatic, at least pragmatic. With the players he's got, he's recruited ex-Premier League, well, not Premier League quality players. They're not great players. They're not going to elevate Everton. And Everton finished 10th last season. And I just don't think they're going to do the same this season. That's why I put them in 11th place. It's not that much different, but it's not as good. Clubs
maybe feeling the COVID pinch more than others. I mean, Southampton's definitely one of them. Everton spent a lot of money last season and only finished 10th. So I think James Rodriguez will leave. And I think that might then bring other funds in for another creative midfielder. Wouldn't be at all surprised if Everton tried to make a bit of a move for Maddison. Let's see.
All right. Well, moving on. Top half of the table. Stefan, West Ham in 10th, Everton in 9th, Arsenal in 8th, Villa in 7th place.
So, yeah, West Ham, no Lingard, European football, and I think it'll take its toll. I can see West Ham playing exciting football. I think they were quite a good team to watch, actually, last year with Antonio up front. But I think the toll of extra games and maybe missing one of their best players, you think the impact Lingard had, when he came in January, I think that will see him finish lower down. Everton have got bang mid-table written all over them this season. Rafa Benitez won't lose too many games, as I say. They've got 2 goal scorers, which is key. The fans won't be too infused, I think, by the signings that they brought in. But at the same time, I don't think they'll be too worried as well. Arsenal, we spoke about Arsenal before. Ben White coming in. A lot of young, exciting players in the likes of Saka and Smith Rowe. It's a huge season for Aubameyang. He's tailed off in the last year, but if he could recapture that form, I don't really see him doing it from the last sort of 2 or 3 seasons. Arsenal could give it a bit of a go, but the gap in quality is too much. And I think the teams that I've got above Arsenal, I don't think I can see Arsenal pushing on and finishing any higher than 8th this season.
All right, well, let's stop you there. Let's go back to 10th. Clive, the reasons you've said for Everton, I'm guessing that's why you put them in 10th already. So
this is it's a transitional season a little bit for them as well. I mean, I think there's the clubs like Everton, clubs like Leeds, Arsenal to an extent, Spurs as well. I can see them doing quite well in the cups. Arsenal don't have European football this season to worry them. So, I mean,
that's true.
Again, I mean, it goes back to what we said in the last show, I mean, who's going to be the main 2 up front? Is it going to be Aubameyang and Pepe? Is it going to be Lacazette and Pepe? Or Lacazette and Aubameyang? Arteta needs to make a decision there and he needs to stick to it. I prefer Pepe over Lacazette, and obviously Aubameyang, I think, looks better, straight down the middle rather than out on the wing. Leeds haven't strengthened much, but they were much better defensively in the second half of last season.
Yep.
And they love going forward from the wing backs. I mean, Filippo, who's just signed from Barcelona, he looks a great player that will push on for them. I think West Ham will do very well this season. I think European football will be a distraction, which is why I've put them 7th and not any higher. I think Ben Rama is going to really kick on this season for West Ham. He got 17 goals for Brentford in the championship season before, just the 1 for West Ham, but 6 assists. And with Lingard now not looking like returning to West Ham, I think Ben Rama's going to really take over that role that he had. They've been linked with Nikola Milenkovic, Zuma as well, possibly coming in. If they get those 2, they've got a really, really, really good squad. So 7th place for West Ham, I think.
But do you not think that, like Stefan alluded to, that the UEFA Cup is going to hinder them? I
mean, it didn't hinder Leicester too much last season.
Well, if West Ham have Brendan Rodgers in charge, maybe. The key for West Ham is how well can they manage Mikel Antonio's hamstrings, and I think that's why. It's very specific. But you're right. Yeah,
well, his hamstrings are just like cheese strings, aren't they? I mean, he's a great player, but every 6, 7, 8 weeks, you just know he's probably going to have a good 4 to 6 weeks out, and then that fluidity between players like Bowen, Fornells, and Ben Rama is going to suffer. Yeah. And I think they do need to look at that. Abraham would have been ideal for West Ham. He's going to Roma, by the looks of it, 40 million. Bit of a question mark over the price tag there.
I can see Stefan frowning at that one. You wanted Abraham for Brighton, right, Stefan?
Well, yeah, I heard it's 34 million. And it's
are Brighton going to pay that much for a striker?
Why not? They just sold Ben White for 50 million. Why not spend 40 of that?
Maybe.
And keep 10?
Maybe. I mean, well, you could see the similarities between like what Brighton should be doing, what Southampton should be doing. I mean, Chris Wood, Edouard, and who are we talking about? Gone. They were two strikers that should really be on a lot of Premier League teams' radars, like Brighton, like Southampton, like West Ham as well.
Yeah.
And Abraham would fit in. I just wonder if he's really entertaining that move to Roma, and whether another team can come in and turn his head.
Some people think that if he stays in the Premier League, he'll have to go to a club that's not as good as Chelsea. Well, that's a given. They're not going to be as good as Chelsea. Whereas if he goes to Roma, he's going to be playing under Mourinho. He's going to be playing for a big club still. And that's
it all depends on how him and just talking about Tammy Abraham.
I know, but it's fun, isn't it?
Mourinho doesn't have a habit of he's like Marmite, isn't he? Players either love him or hate him. And the fear is for Abraham, if he goes to Roma and crashes and burns, then any move to I think any Premier League club is gonna hinder him. West Ham would be ideal for Tammy Abraham.
Brighton would be.
Abraham. It's just the wages. Stefan probably knows more than we do, but Abraham's going to demand possibly in excess of 70,000, 80,000 a week. I can't imagine the likes of Morpay or Trossard anywhere near that.
Well, highest earner is Adam Lallana on 90 grand a week.
And he doesn't even play.
Exactly, for 10 games a season. So I think the wages is an issue, and it doesn't fit into the Potter mindset of buying established Premier League goal scorers. It doesn't favour them.
All right, moving on. Sorry, Stefan. Moving on to the 10th. We've got 10 minutes left here. Sorry. So West Ham I've got in 10th, because they've kept Rice and they still have a strong squad. However, UEFA Cup, you need depth, and I don't think they have it. So that's why I think they're going to drop from 6th place to 10th place. Tottenham, transitional season, but they've lost Kane. They've lost the best goal scorer, one of the best goal scorers the Premier League has ever had. So that's why I put them in 7th place. It's up to Santo to steady the ship, and I think he can, but I think 9th place is still a decent season for Tottenham without Kane. Arsenal staying in 8th. They haven't really done much in the transfer market. I know the Arsenal fans are going to be going crazy about that because they want an attacking midfielder who's going to create things, and they haven't brought in anyone like that. They've only got Ben White at the back. They'll do well, I think, but not enough to push them up the table. And one of the best transfer windows in the Premier League has been Aston Villa getting rid of Grealish, or selling Grealish, not getting rid of him, for 100 million, and bringing in Buendia and Leon Bailey and getting Ashley Young on a free. I think it's been a sensational transfer window for Aston Villa. All right, moving up the table. Clive, you've gone Villa in 6th and Liverpool in 5th place.
They're doing very well. They've probably got one of the best goalkeepers in the Premier League right now, Aston Villa, and they've got a great spine in the team there as well, with the likes of Buendia and Leon Bailey, Danny Ings coming in as well. Cresswell's been linked with them. They've got McNeil also is very creative in midfield. Taggart at the back with them. Konsa, that they've really, Traore, knows where the goal is as well for them. El Ghazi as well is good strength in depth. They formed a really good team. They've clearly planned very well in advance of Grealish leaving, and they've still got money in the bank. Cantwell might be coming in for them. They could have a really, really, really good season this season, Villa. Not as good as Leicester, mind you, but they should have a very good season.
Stefan,
and then
Tottenham.
Liverpool.
Sorry, let's just move on to 6th. Let's just go to Stefan's 6th. Tottenham. Stefan?
Yeah, I think
you think they're going to do better than last season?
Well, I just think that's due to the teams like West Ham maybe not finishing above them. I think this is a nightmare start to the season. This is having a new manager in and then having this sort of pantomime, if you like, with Harry Kane leaving or not leaving. The whole team is built around Harry Kane as the captain. So I think they could get off to a really, really shaky start. And I think they've got Man City the first game this season, which is quite appropriate, I think. And then above them, I've got Leicester. I think Leicester, the last couple of seasons, Clive, have been in them Champions League spots. And I was convinced around Christmas time that Leicester would definitely finish in the Champions League that year. But I just feel, as you say, going for it on all four fronts, seem to be quite confident of Europa League. I think maybe that will take its toll on Leicester. Even though I think the squad is better than it was last year and you've kept your best players, I can just see Leicester maybe just finishing short and Brendan Rodgers maybe bottling in it with the last sort of 10 games.
And I have a habit of doing that, unfortunately, Brendan Rodgers. But I mean, we can't, to finish fifth 2 seasons running and winning the FA Cup last season, the dream come true. I mean, we'll come to Leicester in a minute, but yeah, I can't really complain at another top 6 finish if it does turn out like that for Leicester City.
Yeah, and I've gone for an optimistic 6th for Leeds United. I feel like I said previously, they did really well at the back end of the season. That defender Llorente is back, and of course they've signed the left back Firpo. They're not playing in Europe, so I think that'll help. Right. So yeah, I've gone with Leeds United in 6th place, and I agree with everything that Stefan just said about Leicester City. I just think the top 4 teams, the 4 teams above them, are just a little bit too strong right now for them. So that's why I've gone with Leicester in 5th. But however, Clive, you've gone for Liverpool in 5th place.
I mean, a lot depends on defensively for Liverpool for me. I mean, you've questioned before how well Virgil van Dijk might slot back into that centre back spot, and is he up to what he's like before? I mean, who are they gonna partner with Van Dijk? I mean, they've brought in that Kyoto. They've got options with Gomez and Matip. Robertson's out for them already, and it all depends. Do they keep, going with the tried and tested Bobby Firmino, or do they start to switch to Diego Jota, who is, for me, a much more prolific goal scorer? I mean, Mane and Salah are outstanding on the days when they have, they're shut down by very stalwart defences. Jota is the ideal player to come in. And then let's not forget Oxlade-Chamberlain. He's also a bit of a super sub in the past for Liverpool. I just feel, that they do lack a little bit of creativity. I mean, Henderson sort of started picking up niggling injuries. It's going to be interesting how Klopp, sets his stall out this season for Liverpool. He seems to have got a lot of trust with the squad already. They were linked with Tielemans as well towards the back end of last season. So I think there is a feeling that maybe a bit of creativity is lacking in that midfield. And a lot's going to depend on the contract discussions between Jordan Henderson and Liverpool and sort of whether he ends up leaving before the end of this transfer window or even in January. So interesting times for Liverpool. But a 5th spot, I think, could possibly be on the cards in this season.
All right, let's head into the top 4. Stefan, Liverpool, 4th.
Yeah, so I agree with everything Clive just said there, really, regarding Liverpool. I think it could be touch and go. I think they had an early exit from the Champions League last year, which enabled them to then qualify for the top 4. I think they're going to benefit, obviously from having Van Dijk back, maybe having Thiago and Fabinho play alongside each other as opposed to having Fabinho playing the centre-back position. One thing that hasn't really been mentioned is it is an African Cup of Nations year. That will really hinder them. At the start of the calendar year with the likes of that'll be Salah and Mane going. I don't really know what their options are. So putting a lot of pressure on Jota, who I can see playing a more of a prominent role this season. But I feel with the teams that are behind, I think Liverpool might just shade it. But I think we can see them tailing off after Christmas.
Yeah, I think the same. And of course, like I said, they have got options in midfield, but I think Wijnaldum is a big loss that they haven't really addressed.
Exactly.
So,
There's gaps in that midfield in terms of creativity for sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, I've got with Man United in 3rd place, which really, really hurts considering how much we've improved our squad. bringing in Varane and Sancho. I just think the two teams above are just going to be a little bit strong for Solskjaer. So that's why I put Man United in third. But the recruitment has been brilliant. But I just think, yeah, like I said, the two teams, well, we'll be showing you later in first and second place, have just been a little bit too strong. Stefan, you agree with that?
I think Man United, the one area is that double pivot, and McTominay and Fred, they wouldn't be getting in the likes of Liverpool, City, Chelsea's teams. That's it. The recruitment's been great, but the recruitment from the top two, or the teams that I'm putting above them, surpasses it. So another year, heading in the right direction, Man United, but no, won't mount a title challenge for me.
Clive, more optimistic. Chelsea in third.
Well, I mean, they're going to sign Lukaku, and Havertz, I think, is going to be a goal machine for them this season. I mean, since Tuchel took over, I mean, their record defensively has also been amazing. So just think Man United with recruiting Sancho and Varane might just prove a little bit stronger for them.
All right.
So yeah, third place for Chelsea.
Well, let's have a look at who we've put as the champions. Stefan, you've gone with Chelsea to win the league with Manchester City behind.
Yeah, even with Kane, I think Chelsea might have City's number this season. I think the concentration of points at the top of the league, this year will be very, very high. I think City lost 6 games last season and drew quite a few as well. I don't see that happening this time. And I think when it comes down to the points, I think Chelsea's head-to-head record against Man City could prove key here. There's going to be a bit of disruption with Kane coming in. And City's first few games include Spurs, Chelsea, Arsenal, and Liverpool in the first 6 games. So I think Chelsea might get a march on them. And I think Tuchel up against Pep, I think he's had 3 wins from 3. And with Lukaku, I think Lukaku gets 30 goals this season, and I think Chelsea might just pip Man City to the league.
Clive?
It's going to come down. I think it's going to come down to whether it's Kane or Lukaku for Golden Boot this season. Whoever wins that wins their club the league.
I agree, and that's why I've gone with Manchester City to win the league. I think Grealish and Kane is a great addition, and I think it's just a tiny little bit better than adding Lukaku to the squad. All right, boys and girls, thank you for joining us for this episode of Halftime Oranges, and we'll see you again next time for another edition of Halftime Oranges. See you later. Bye-bye.